So all the panelists have been able to go through interviews at Microsoft. So I will just call out your name, introduce yourself, mention your name, what role you're in, then just mention your favorite stage of your interview. So the first person I will call is Felix Omok.
Thanks for that, Julia. So I hope I'm audible enough, right?
Yes, you're audible. Sorry.
Just...
Kindly let's mute our mics to avoid disrupting the session. So please, if you're not presenting, just have your mic on mute. Go ahead, Felix.
Okay, so my name is Felix Omok. I'm a recent graduate from Kirinyaga University, and I joined Microsoft as a software engineer. Yeah, what again was I supposed to talk about, Julia?
Which was your favorite stage of the interview process?
Oh, my favorite stage of the interview process was the final round, where we have like the 4 interviews. Yeah, so that was my favorite part of the interview. Yeah.
So you mean you had 4 back-to-back interviews, or what do you imply?
Yeah, like there was the first round, which was just 1 session, and then we had the final round, which was 4 interviews back to back, each lasting for 45 minutes. Yeah, that was my favorite part because that's what I'd been preparing for most. Yeah.
Wow, seems like a lot of pressure, and it happens to be your favorite. That's interesting. So, Abubakar Ali, care to go next?
Hello, hi. I hope you can hear me, Julia.
Perfect, loud and clear.
Yeah. So also for me, my favorite part of the interview, I can say it's the last round, because that was the point where I could show that I've been practicing, I've been trying to get ready for this interview, and that was the moment whereby I can show like, yeah, I wanted this internship. So yeah, that's it for me.
Ali, you didn't even tell us your name.
See, I thought you had introduced.
No. Mention your name in full. Mention your name in full, and whether you're joining as an intern or as a full-time employee.
Yeah, okay. I'm Abubakar Ali. I'm a software engineer intern. I'm currently in MLSA team. I'm with the People API sub-team.
Awesome. I'm curious why you didn't want us to know your name, but yeah, that's good. I don't know if you have Marianne. I think I see Marianne in the same room. So Marianne, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I am Marianne Gitonga. I am a software engineer intern at Microsoft ADC. My team is Graph DevX, which is developer experiences. My favorite part of the interview, ironically, was the last one, yet it was still the worst. Because the pressure was getting worse, but we made it.
Awesome. I hope to hear more about your engagement and your experience during this call. Charlene?
Hello, my name is Charlene Busini. Excuse me, I'm working from home. I am in the MSAI team and entity sub. I'm in third year, University of Nairobi. My favorite part of the interview. Okay, I like the soft life. So it was the first part where I was just talking with the recruiter. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Edwin Moraya.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, okay. So my name is Edwin Moraya. I'm a recent graduate from Dedan Kimathi University. I was doing geomatics, course related to surveying. I joined Microsoft as a software engineer, FTA, MSAI team. Yeah, and my favorite part of the interview was the last interview. Not really the interview, when I was talking to the recruiter, when I knew I had an offer. That was the favorite part.
Nice. That's awesome. So, Derek, do you have Derek on the call? Derek Moodley?
Yeah, I'm on the call. Derek Mooley. I'm currently an intern It's a team called Feedit. We work on a feed component that is embedded in Outlook Mobile. My favorite part of the interview was definitely the last interview, because I got to meet the engineers and actually have a conversation. There's usually like a small behavioral part before you actually start doing the coding portion. So yeah, that was my favorite part, because yeah, I got to meet a lot of cool people.
Awesome, awesome. Abednego, if you're on the call.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm Abednego Machogu. I'm a software engineer intern with the MLSA team as well. My favorite part of the interview was the first round after the CV application, which was the recruiter interview. I liked it because I encountered a really nice recruiter, and we were able to like have a friendly chat, which was very unhostile. Yeah.
Awesome, and interesting choice of word there. So I don't know if you have Gloria Kaya on the call. Gloria, I don't see Gloria on the call. Leah Digare. Okay, so in case they join us, we'll definitely get to hear from them. So as I had mentioned, we had a lot of pre-submitted questions, so I'll go ahead and ask them. In case you have a question for the panelists, please post them on chat and we'll be able to address them. So the first question is from Laura, and she's asking, what was the application process like? So I know we have two questions here. There's one from Laura about the application process, and there's one from Boniface Otieno about the interview process. So we're going to answer them separately. I will throw the application process question to Felix Omok, and then I will throw the interview process to Marianne Gitonga. So Felix, go ahead and respond to what is the application process like?
Okay, so for the application process, one thing I will say is that once the the positions are open and they're made public, they're always available on the Microsoft career site. So maybe somebody can drop the link to that in the chat so somebody can visit. So when you go to Microsoft career site, you can always navigate to I think it's Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and then under that you'll see an option for Kenya. So you can always filter for internship roles and select on Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya. So for that, you'll see the full-time roles, and even for the internship roles, that is if you want for the internship roles. Just know that when applying for internship roles, when you are applying for internship roles, you can only apply in a place, in a country where you have the work permission. But for full-time roles, you can apply for any country. Yeah. So that's it, the application process. So I think you'll just need to have your resume well polished, maximum 1 page, and fill in the required details, and that's all for the application process. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And just one follow-up question for you, Felix. You've mentioned about what you need to apply for an intern and for a full-time role. So who can actually apply for an internship position?
Okay, for an internship position, I think you need to be in your second or your third year. And for a full-time role, you need to be in your final year or maybe after after school completion. By that I mean that okay, what happens is that for a full-time role, you need to be 12 months since you graduated, or 12 months before graduation. That is if you're in your final year. So that's by that time you're still considered a student, whether you're in school or you are within 12 months since your graduation. So for that, you can apply for a full-time role. That is for university recruiting. But if you have stayed out of school since your graduation for 12 months, then you can only apply for industry recruitment. And for internship, you must be in your second or your third year. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And just to add on that, for you to apply for an intern position, you need to at least have 1 more year of study before you graduate. So you need to be careful on that. So to Marianne, what is the interview process like?
So the first stage, you do an introductory call with your recruiter. So this is for the recruiter to, get to know you, get to know your, how you interact with people in a team, how you think in terms of like working in a large organization such as this one. They do ask one question, which is like a trickster kind of question, but I think that's only to gauge how you think or how you process, like a problem and then get down to the solution. So the first stage is usually pretty chill. And then after that, once you get sign to go on, you do the one that has 4 interviews in one. So it's like one long interview, but then broken down into 45 minutes each with a 15-minute break in between, with different engineers. So on that one, each engineer has their own set of questions where they ask you behavioral questions, technical questions, and then they ask you like now a coding type of question. It could be one or it could be more, depending on, I guess, how fast you answer or how many questions an interviewer had prepared for you. Then after there, you just, once you get in, once you go through, you now meet with your recruiter, like to discuss further plans for you joining and your, what's it called? Your salary, I guess. Yeah. So for the interviews, it's just two main stages. One with your recruiter, which is more like chill, and then the other one, which is a bit more technical, with 4 interviews packed into one.
Great. Awesome. Awesome. So I think, Derek, at some point you had your hand up. I don't know if you wanted to chip in.
I was curious because I had a codility test before the interview with the recruiter. So
yeah. So actually, because you're on because you're on unmute, I can actually ask that question we have from Moses Washira, and he's asking, did you do a technical interview? So probably you can expound more on that question.
For me, I guess the experience was a bit different from Marianne. My first interview was actually a codility test. So that had like 3 questions. 3 questions, basically data structures and algorithm questions. Then after that, I had the interview with the recruiter. Then after that, I had like another 4 sets of interviews in one day, 45 minutes each, one after the other, with different engineers. That also included data structures and algorithm question. We basically pair programmed with them the questions. I think Kimaru wants to chip in.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is George. I was an intern. I just finished mine last week, I think. And I noted people are not talking about codility. You're just mentioning going straight into the phone-in interview, which is not technical. So first step, I'd say the most important step is the application step. And if you mess up with that, all this we're talking about here is not important as much, because it's really important, and I can't stress this much, how formatting your CV and making sure your CV is really good. That's the first step you should take, because if it's not up to par, you will be filtered out and you'll not go to the next round. So I'd say for everyone in here, the first step you should take is make sure your CV is up to date. Put in your school projects, put in any relevant experience you have, anything that would make a recruiter say yes. That was the important step. And as Moody had said, the next stage is a codility test. And kindly make sure when you're submitting your answers, all the test cases are running. Keep practicing with codility, and just to be familiar with the environment so that you don't get a shocker when you go in there. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, George, for that input. And I think you've also answered something that we've been asked on chat by Mohammed, who is asking any tips on how I can make my resume noticed from thousands of resumes sent by the applicants? So that's a great question, and I think that has been answered by both George and Felix. So remember, Felix mentioned that you should have your CV just as a one page. So don't have like 5 pages of your CV. Remember, a recruiter has a lot of CVs to go through, so they probably just have a few seconds to scan through your CV. So make sure you have every important detail on one page. Then ensure you put in all the projects you've worked on. And another secret that was shared with to me some time ago was that you need to carefully read through the job post. So the job description, what are they looking for? If you have those skills, highlight those skills on your resume. So because of time, we'll go on to the next question from Nathaniel. So Nathaniel asked, how did you prepare for the interview in detail? So don't give us the shallow information. He wants the detail of what exactly you did to prepare for your interview. And I will throw this question to Abubakar Ali. So what exactly did you do to prepare for your interview in detail?
Okay, so personally for me, I can say that I leverage LeetCode. I know it's so cliche, but I can't emphasize enough. LeetCode is the best resource out there. Like, it contains a number of questions that are commonly asked here at Microsoft and also in other companies. And then on LeetCode, I used to spend most of my time looking at the discussion tab. So there's that tab there. And in the discussion tab, you can find some short articles from other people that have been part of the interview process. So they share some of the commonly asked questions there. So these are really, really beneficial for you when preparing. And another thing I did was I did a lot of mock interview with my friend here, Felix, and yeah, a number of people here. So we used to have like a group of about 5 people, and then we had a time, like we used to meet daily from, let's say, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then during our meeting, what we usually do is we had like a mock interview, which was basically, we had a list of questions that we had predicted that would be asked in the interview, and then we would have maybe someone like Abednego do question 1, and then I do question 2. And so like the whole idea was to do just a mock interview and get the whole experience of the interview process. And another thing that personally I did was look at the documentation. So if you are someone that is doing, maybe you're a web developer and your strong language is JavaScript, don't worry. You don't have to learn Python, you don't have to learn Java, you don't have to learn anything. Just use the language that you're most good in. And for you to do that, you have to look at the documentation out there. Nowadays, in this century, you don't have to buy a course. Most of resources are found online and they are free. And the one resource that I used is actually YouTube. So for me, I just used YouTube, LeetCode, and there's also this site called Prompt. I'm going to share the link. So Prompt is basically a site that matches you with another person who is interested in a mock interview. So if you are matched with him or her, for example, like let's say I want to do a mock interview today, I'll just go on the site and then I'll book a session. So the website will match you with someone else that's interested in that mock interview, and you'll be given the same question, like both of you, and you'll have time to do research, and then during the call you can practice among each other. So that's one site that I used. The other one, I said it's YouTube. The other one, make use of your friends and form groups that you can practice mock interviews. Yeah, I think that's it for me.
I don't know if you have anyone who went through the same process who has some additional tips on what they did to prepare for the interview. And as you're thinking of an answer to that question, Emmanuel also asks if there is any unique thing you did to pass the first stage. So to all the panelists, probably you have an experience you can share with regard to preparation. This is the time you can share your experience. Mary Ann, I think your hand is up.
Yeah. So let's say you are not, because I know sometimes like if you go straight onto LeetCode, like if you're not, like if you weren't like really, like you didn't have like a strong background in your DSAs, you might get like chickened out. because sometimes like those questions do come out strong. So I would advise, there are books out there, ebooks on learning data structures, others, there's one for, what is it called, something, cracking the code interviews. So like starting out with those ebooks sometimes does help because it gives you like a lot of context, and at the same time you're learning. So by the time you're going to look through the questions on LeetCode, you have like an idea or an understanding of, you know, like the data structures, the different algorithms, and how you can apply that onto the practice questions that you're doing on LeetCode. What was the other question? Sorry.
So it was just if you have a unique thing that you did to pass the first stage. So that was a question that was being asked.
So for me, I think this for me worked throughout like all my interviews, is just being authentic and being confident. There's a way there's a way interviewers can read your energy. I do not know how, but they actually can. So if you're authentic, like if you have like authentic energy, if you're confident with how you're answering your questions, they will tell. And that I think goes a long way. So for me, I think it's that aspect of being confident with how you answer your questions. Even if you're not sure, just be like truthful with how you answer them and answer them with confidence. And also do look jovial. I think also in a way they do feed into your energy. So if you get there like you're so gloomy and you look defeated, they will just carry on with the same energy. So jisaik kabisa. Yeah.
Point home. I see, George, you have your hand up. Probably you have something to chime in.
Yes, just to add on the prep part. I know for some of you from the audience, maybe you have a short time, maybe you have not done LeetCode before, and you feel maybe if you jump into LeetCode, it will be a lot to do. So the resource I'd suggest you use is, it's called Blind 75. I think Muli can maybe even expand on that. It's a list of 75 LeetCode questions that cover most. If you are able to work on those 75 questions, you'll be able to identify patterns to solve the others. So you don't need to go do the 1500 of them. You can just work with the 75, and hopefully that will be enough for you. If you feel it's not enough, you can always go ahead and do the more questions. But since maybe time is a factor for some of you and you haven't done LeetCode as well before, I'd say yeah, you focus maybe on the book Marianne mentioned, Cracking the Coding Interview. Focus on, there's another book called Grokkings, Data Structures, I think, I'm not sure, just called Grokkings, and Blind 75. So I'm sure if you feel like you're short of time, you have to balance with things, maybe there's school, maybe there's something, I think those are the things that will help you. And also on the fact that you have to be talkative. You don't have to be too don't go too out of your zone. Just be comfortable. Speak to the interviewers as if they're your friends, because these are the people you most probably would be working with. So try and engage them. If you don't understand the question, you just ask it again and again, and the interviewer will most probably guide you towards the solution. So it's just about being relaxed and just having a conversation with someone. Yeah.
Awesome. So I think we need to hop on to the next question, but Derek, probably just less than a minute for you to give your input.
It seems like you forgot completely about system design questions. During the last interview, you might get a system design question. So yeah, I think that's something I should mention.
Awesome tip. Yeah, I think that was forgotten. So I think from what I've picked up is that it's very, very easy to, I think Ali mentioned that they could actually predict some of the questions to come. So I think it's a matter of preparing yourself, get out there. The links that have been shared on the chat, please ensure you follow up in case you're preparing for any interview, any upcoming interview. So we have an Felix, are you about to say something?
Okay, so yeah, Derek just mentioned system design questions, and also we have behavioral questions. So that's a topic that most people tend to assume. Remember, the first round is all behavioral questions, and then even for the final rounds, the first 15 minutes are normally behavioral questions before you start coding, right? So you can make use of prompt to like give you the confidence on how to answer behavioral questions. For example, a question like tell me about yourself, it's not just as simple as it seems. So you have to do your research. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So we can get to the next question, and I will ask this question to Shalin, not Cynthia, Shalin. So Sifa Kinoti is asking, what do you think made you get in? So everything you did, what do you think made you get the job?
Wow. I think I was strategic at every point of the internship. So everything everyone has said from the get-go. If it's the CV and the resumes, I adhere to best practices. And of course, okay, for me it was the talking, expressing myself. If I was not so for the interviews, I think you've been told that there's a part that you'll peer program with the interviewer. So if I was not very conversant with something, I was not wasting my time trying to do my own things. I was explaining what I knew and now being guided after that. So I think being expressive, yeah, and the energy basically, but I prepared.
Shalin, I think you froze on my end. I don't know if everyone is able to hear you. Seems like you've frozen. But I hope everyone got what Charlene has shared. So I will ask this to one more person. So anyone who thinks they can share something that they did and they feel that, you know what, after doing this, this is definitely what made me get the job. Amam Jaminio design. Anyone?
For me, I think it's because I went heavy on the behavioral, as Felix mentioned before. It's something I wasn't confident about, so I did a lot of mock interviews for the behavioral portions with my friends and some on prom. As Felix mentioned before, I think it's something people really ignore, and I think it's the biggest selling point, especially for interns.
Great, great. So Felix unakaa tu connect kusema.
Yes, yeah, just wanted to add one more thing. Okay, so for me, I think it's how I express myself. And in this case, like, first of all, especially for the first round, these guys are trying to check if you're fit for Microsoft. So first of all, you have to be knowledgeable about Microsoft, do your research about Microsoft, and yeah, show them like you have been yearning to get this job, like show them like you are happy and like yeah, you'll get this job. And then for the final rounds, one thing that I did was that I did my research well about these the people who are going to interview me, so I knew them, and then I was all kind of like energetic, something like that, because I remember my first Microsoft interview I failed because kind of I was not confident enough. The interview could just tell that this person kind of is shocked in a way. So you have to be confident in everything you're doing and show them that you can do it, and that's it.
Yeah, thank you, Felix. So you mentioned that you failed your first interview. So if it's not too much of a push, how many interviews did you do?
I did 2 interviews. I mean, I made many applications before, but then I only got a chance to interview twice. So the first interview I did was early January, which I failed. I think we were doing the same interview with Edwin. So Edwin managed to pass the interview and I failed it. And then I got to do another interview come around this year March. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So Edwin, before we get to you, I think Felix has also mentioned about researching more about the interviewers, because you'll get to be told this is the person who will interview you. So if you're using good terms, it's researching, but kwa ground tunajua our stock do we just look out everything they love. If they are football fans, unaenda na hiyo vibe ya football. So Edwin, you had your hand up.
Okay, hope I'm on mute.
Yes. I can't hear you. Okay, go ahead. Missy Kuski, I can't hear you, Edwin. I don't know if it's something wrong on my end.
No, we can't hear you, Edwin.
Okay, so now you're on mute. And I have a question for you, Edwin. So we really need to hear from you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Give me a
it's
sec.
okay now. It's okay now. It's okay now.
So you can hear me now.
Yes, yes.
That. So I was saying, like, for me, in my first interview, when I was beginning like interviewing, and even so, are you hearing me?
Audio yako inakupiga tenga. At some point we can hear you, then you just unapotea tu, but I think now we can hear you laughing, so go ahead.
Okay, I think we can go to the next person as I fix my issues.
You are the next person. So I don't know what you're going to do about that, but you can probably have a look at your devices. We can just skip and ask a different question. So
Yeah, sure.
who has not answered a question? Okay, let me ask this one to Abednego. Abednego, so now that we would achieve to Oppo, a question for you. This one is a very interesting one. So how are the screenings? So how are the screenings for the position were, how they were, and how you actually tackled the screening? That's a question from Rachel.
Background check. So for the background check, I'd say they asked for official documents. Think ID, passport, driver's license, and then they follow up regarding, let's say, your school. They follow up to verify the information that you had submitted in your CV. Pretty much they hire an external company to do it, so there's not much you do on your end, rather, apart from being truthful and submitting the required documents. Yeah.
Awesome. So I see time is far much gone. So just one thing to add on that. In case you put rumors on your CV, you can actually succeed through the interviews, but when they get to do the background checks and you wrote something that you had 2 years of experience at some fake organization, it's all going to come back to you. And they'll be like, you passed the interviews, but we can't hire you because we're not able to validate the information. So as Abednego shared, be truthful, put in the experience you have. If you don't have it, go look for it, then add it there. So I will ask one question to Bethany. Bethany also has interviewed for Microsoft. So a question for you from Enoch Omondi. Can you get a job at Microsoft if you don't have a degree?
If you don't have a degree, yeah, there's some. So for the graduate roles and the student roles, of course, the prerequisite is a degree. But then for the other roles, there's the different roles depending on now where you're headed. So for my team, technically my degree is not in the field that I'm working in. I guess most developer advocates also have a different educational background. So if you're interviewing specifically for the internships and the graduate role, yes, you have to have a degree. For the other roles, it's specified. You can either have 2 or more years of experience in the field or a degree. It's give or take. Yeah.
Awesome. So I've also shared something on the chat, and I think this is like the most inspiring story I've ever had. It was shared about someone who was a fisherman, and right now he's a software engineer at Microsoft. So he works with these lovely people you see on the call today. So that means it doesn't really matter about your background. What you require is that passion for tech. This guy literally just learned everything from YouTube. He was able to, I think, let me not spoil the story for you. So just read that article, you'll really get inspired. And remember, it doesn't really be a hindrance if you've not gone to school, whatever background, just demonstrate your passion for tech and you'll be able to actually get into these opportunities. Edwin, back to you. Have you fixed your mic?
I'm not sure.
Yes, yes, you have. So I think you were about to share something before that happened. You're on mute.
About now.
All good.
So
Edwin, okay, can I ask you a question?
yes.
Okay, we have a question from Henry, and Henry is asking, please, can an entry-level developer apply for an internship at Microsoft with little knowledge of JavaScript? So that is a question from Henry.
Yeah, I think you can, but you still need to demonstrate that you are competent in your interviews. So if I share my experience, I had 2 interviews, and the first interviews I was doing with JavaScript, and I think you can. I'm not sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So one final question, I think because of time. Thank you to everyone that is responding on the chat. We have a lot of questions that have been answered on the chat, so also have a look at that. So I will ask one question to Charlene. Yes, Charlene. So Rosemary is asking, what can we do between now and the time we probably start working to get prepared for the role of a software engineer intern? So basically now as a student, what can I do before I start applying for these roles?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
It's very relative with your time. If you have a short amount of time between now and application, I'd suggest you do what George said. Look at the most meaningful questions and research on the DSA, the way George had said before. But if you have a longer time, first of all, polish up on your projects because you'll be discussing that a good amount of time. Also work on your data structures and algorithms between now and then. So if you're forming those groups and discussing with other people, look for people who are already there and talk to them. Clearly, this is a good step and continue doing so. So yeah, that's what I would advise. Work on the project and data structures and algorithms.
Awesome. Thank you, Charlene, for that detailed response. So I will also chip in here because I've also been through the Microsoft interviews, but I was not interviewing for a software engineering role. It was more of a cloud advocate role. So what I did before I even knew I was going to apply was that I did all I could. So I was a student ambassador, and basically what we were supposed to do is build tech communities in our institutions, just teach more students about tech. And with the resources I had, that is exactly what I did. And how this helped me was that during my interviews, I was able to, in detail, explain everything I did as a student volunteer. And so the interviewer was actually able to say that, hey, this is actually a driven student. This is someone who loves community. So for me, I wouldn't say that I had a really difficult time interviewing because basically I was interviewing for something I was already doing because advocacy is more or less like what we do as ambassadors. So I would say if there's anything you can do now, don't wait until you have like a job title. If there's anything you can do, if there's a project you can contribute to, do that right now. Then when you get to your interviews, it's actually an experience you can share with your interviewer. And true to that, I actually asked my interviewer after I got the role, I asked them, what made you choose me? Like, I was really frank with them because I didn't think I was qualified for that role. And they were like, there was a way that you brought out your passion for technology, that you did a lot still as a student. So I realized that what you can actually do today can go a long way in contributing to, the confidence that an interviewer will have in you. So I will ask one question to Marianne because I think she's eating na ninataka kumchokoza. So you mentioned that you had very good and bad times during your interview. So we have one question from Favor. And how were you able to cope with all the pressure, all the interview pressure? So ni nini ulifanya just to cope with everything that was going on?
I think I think this is where like mental games begin, because I don't know, like throughout your life until the point where like you actually have to do something that determines like a huge chunk of your future. Unakwanga too like navigating through until like when it gets to a point where you can't run away from it. So I think like the best advice I can give someone is show up, no matter how scared you are, no matter how anxious you are, no matter how much like your brain is trying to convince you that you're not ready, you're not worth it, you won't pass, you don't know data structure, you don't even know the list that you learned in past year, like everything is evaporating. So yeah, like every day just show up. For those practice questions, show up. For that lead code practice every day, show up. For learning your data structures using whatever ebook you got, just be consistent, and at the end of it all, it's just like, I don't know, it's by default you will succeed if you are consistent, and if you kept on like with the effort. So no matter like how scary every day is, up until the interview day, you will be scared, you will be like, because of that day you'll be frightened, you even get sick. But you just have to show up. So long as like you are consistent with your practices, with learning, with building your confidence. I don't know what happens, but God just comes through for you. Yeah, because you are consistent and you are putting in the effort.
I love that response. So show up. Atakaina kangumu, just show up. Actually, don't disqualify yourself. Recruiters are being paid to disqualify you, so let them do their job. Show up, do your best, then let whatever happens happen. So I think we're really just 1 minute at the top of the hour, but I want to ask one question from Oliver on the chat, and probably Derek, you could respond to this. So Oliver is asking, when you're talking about having your projects on your resumes, do we need to have taken those projects to production? Derek?
I think Kimaru would be better placed to answer this, because most of my projects are actually to production, but I don't think it's necessary. So I think Kimaru would be better placed for me.
Yeah, so as the person who has the least GitHub contributions during this internship, I can confidently say you don't have to have had it in production. All I can say is you can have it in your repo somewhere, as long as it's working, in the case maybe someone wants to see it. And kindly don't, it shouldn't be a situation where you have just copied someone's repo and forked it into yours and say it's yours. You need to understand how whatever you've built works. It's not just about copy pasting. Yeah, so you can just list out what you've done, and in the case the interviewer asks you what you've done, you can explain it in detail. Even if it's a case of sharing a screen, that would even be better, but time is short during the interview. So yeah, you can just make sure you highlight whatever your project is, the features it has, and maybe just a little explanation about what it does. I think that should be enough for your case. It doesn't have to be a whole project in production. I think you shouldn't be scared to just apply. That's one thing I'll tell all of you. Believe in yourself. You're good enough, and you'll get these roles. And also, just one controversial piece of advice: if you are not sure of whatever language to use, as for now, I'd suggest you take Python, especially since time is short. I don't know if anyone has any rejection with that, especially Abu. Abu, I hope you can hear me. Kindly advise them to use Python. Don't use C++. Kindly, it can get rough in there. Yeah.
Okay. Let us not go down that road. I know people who will choose violence over peace. So I know time is up, but I think let's just have a few minutes for all the panelists to just share one final word before we wind up. I think all the questions I'm seeing on the chat have been responded to, so you can briefly go through the chat and see the responses. But I will just give a minute for every panelist to just say one final word, and if they want us to connect with them, well and good, you can share your socials. But before them, let me steal half a minute For those that are part of the mentorship program, next month we'll be having our Game of Learners exhibition. So this is like a month-long hackathon. So we'll be sharing more details. Ensure you reach out to your mentors. Ensure you get placed in a team. And yeah, I look forward to the amazing projects you will build during the hackathon, and hopefully we will get those projects resubmitted for Imagine Cup. So for all the panelists, I think, I don't know what order we're going to, but we can start with the focus room at the office. Tell us your goodbyes. No mwende nyumbani, it's late, you're at the office. So let's start with Ali.
So for me, maybe I can start by thanking everyone for being here, for finding time to be in this meeting. It shows that you are really interested in this internship or full-time opportunity that you're looking for. The only thing I can say for me, one thing I can add is for those that are interested in internship here, I may offer to do a resume review. I know I'm not that good, but I may have some few points that I can help you with. So if you have a resume or a CV and you want it to be reviewed, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I've shared my link there, and I'll gladly help. Yeah, that's it for me. Thank you.
Awesome.
So,
Anyone else in the room?
I'd say thank you also for showing up. And one final word is maybe have a plan, strategize. There are months to go before the postings are filled. So if you start now, you have time, and with a great plan, it's possible. Yeah.
Awesome. Marianne?
For me, I will insist on consistency when it comes to practicing. It might seem like at the beginning you're not good. I feel like everyone here, we all started from the ground, like we started from zero, scale zero. So that goes to show it's all in the growth, it's all in the practice, it's all in the consistency. So in as much as you're scared or you're trying to, I don't know, like invalidate your position at MS, it's possible. It just like it's fully dependent on you. So just do your best. To be honest, I usually tell myself the worst that can happen is getting a rejection, and you actually, this I will say from experience, you feel less bad if you get a rejection and you know you did your best, other than getting a rejection and then you're like, what if? Maybe like I didn't put enough effort. Maybe like if I put enough effort, I would have probably gotten it. So I don't know, every time like you get a rejection, not that I'm trying to give the rejection vibes, but anytime you get a rejection, just know it's a chance for you like to improve. There's somewhere you had like a gap, and that's for you to focus on that gap and then do it again. Like never give up. Just show up. Hashtag show up.
Awesome. Thank you. Charlene?
I think they've said majority of the things. Strategize, do your best. Fun fact, or not so fun. The day before, no, actually, yeah, 2 days before I got an interview, I had gone onto the site and niko nimengoja for like sijui how long, I think a month for the interview, and I was like, what? Hii haitaifanyika, and I wanted to remove the application for the resume and everything, and I didn't. And 2 days later, I got the interview, and sometime later, I'm here. So keep on doing what you need to do. Yeah, that's all.
Fantastic. I love that. Edwin?
Oh, okay. So sorry for my problem. So what I would say is that apply. First step is to apply, and the next step is to, of course, to prepare. And the thing that we get wrong, CCCA students, like other students, is we tend to prepare for interviews just before interviews. I think we should try to prepare a little bit ahead. Like for me, I had a plan. I started preparing for my interview 1 year ahead. But even when the interview came, I was still unprepared. So prepare, fanya lead code, and yeah. And someone suggested to use Python. For me, I don't think that's a good idea. When ukiwa kwa interview and you're interviewing and you have a choice of asking your interviewer, is it okay if I could use an implemented data structure? They'll always tell you to use an implemented data structure. So have a language that you have the power to choose. Yeah, don't limit yourself with JavaScript or Python. Yeah, that's all I can say.
Okay. So Edwin, I think Felix, you can go next.
So, okay, for me, I can say, first of all, get your fundamentals right. Most people jump into lead coding when you don't have your fundamentals right, and you end up giving up because you find a question, you have no idea, and then you give up. And then once you have your fundamentals right, then I really focus on teamwork, because once you know, like, you know what a linked list is, you know what a tree is, then start active lead coding. And when doing lead coding, I prefer teamwork. And in this teamwork, what I'm talking about, like doing it with friends, doing mock interviews. I did lots of mock interviews with Abubakar and some other people. So that's really going to help you perfect your skills. And then there's this site Abubakar mentioned, which is called Prompt. I'm really emphasizing on that because remember, your interviews, especially for Microsoft, you'll only get around 20 minutes to code, and you need to practice on time. So Prompt is going to give you that chance to practice, or on time, because you'll have around 20 minutes to solve the problem. So make use of Prompt and ensure that you make that perfect. And then another thing is that if you're a student, make use of your time while in school, because that's the time when you have like the most time to actually do the lead code thing. Me personally, I started active lead coding early this year, and that time I had a part-time job, so I was really finding it difficult balancing the job and also finding time to do the mock interviews. So if you're a student and you're still in school, then use all the time to practice for your interviews. Yeah, thank you. That's all, Julia.
Fantastic. Thank you, Felix. Derek, then George.
For me, I think Felix emphasized on prompt, which I think it's really important because you get the feel of interviews and the pair programming thing. And also you get to practice on behavioral, which is really big. Then on the last interview, I think they have to get in with the right mindset. For me, I wasn't really hoping to get the job offer. I was just really excited to meet engineers working at a big tech company. So I feel like that really helped. So yeah, I had a lot of fun during the interview. So do your best, have fun, stay curious. I mean, maybe for me, I was really curious about how things work. So I asked a lot of questions during the behavioral part of their day-to-day jobs and things I was curious about, such as testing and other things. So yeah, I think that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you. George.
Yeah, mambo ni mengi masani machache, so I think everything has been said. And the most important thing, you have to have the right mindset. Believe in yourself, bro. You can get this thing. Don't think there is someone else who will get it. So, and also remember, rejection is normal. Someone like me, I've applied so many times. Even right now, I'm applying for things that I don't even know where they are. But just apply. You get that rejection, and you just build that. Yeah, ukae ngumu. So, as everyone has said, fundamentals are important. Consistency, and when you get to the final round, try and have maybe at least 2 solutions for each question you are being asked. There is the brute force solution and the optimal solution. I think that also adds you bonus points. Anyway, about language, you will decide what's comfortable with you, as Edwin has said. And yeah, all the best to whoever is applied. Kindly, the first step, apply, and then everything builds up from there.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much. I know we've used up 12 minutes of your time. So thank you so much for joining. Special thank you to Humphrey for setting this call up and putting everything together. It was lovely catching up and hearing from all these amazing students and engineers today. So the one who is recording, please stop recording now, because I will now invite anyone who has something to share. Na najua kunaweza kuwa na vita hapa ya languages and frameworks.